Hello, people of YouTube. My name is Steve Gray, and thank you for watching. Today, we're going to be talking about My Hero Academia, Season 5, Episode 21. We are in the My Villain Academia arc. Highly enjoying these episodes so far. Very disappointed that we're only basically getting a total of like 5 or 6 episodes regarding this arc, because it really didn't start picking up until last episode. So, 20 to 25, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So a total of 6 episodes for this. Kind of disappointed that they didn't take out some of the fluffy stuff, or maybe, push this towards the next season and just give us more filler and kind of just write the season off as a loss. But this episode was both great and kind of weird, I guess is the best way to describe it. Concerning, maybe. So it is the League of Villains versus this Liberation Army. And, it's Twice, Shigaraki, Toga, Compress, Spinner, and Dabi. So you got 6 people versus, like, several hundred in this town. We get a little bit of introduction in the beginning about the background of the Liberation Army, that the owner Destro ended up killing himself. He had a son that is now controlling it. And yeah, good to go there. But this episode is primarily about Himiko Toga, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I usually just say Toga because I can pronounce that better. And we get to see some of her background. So there's this other woman that's part of the Liberation Army that's trying to interview her, because apparently her little bit of a backstory is that she doesn't get enough good stories. She doesn't get enough heart-to-heart from people. She needs to get it directly from the source. So she's trying to get all of Toga's background information. We learned that Toga has been missing since high school. She is age 17 at this point in time, so a little bit older than Deku and Uraka, who I believe are 16 at this point in time. And she was part of a family. Everybody said that she seemed like a decent person, very social, nothing awkward about her. And then she goes and stabs one of her middle school students and starts sucking his blood through a straw. Yeah, so I mean the premise of that is very concerning, but at the same time you have to look at her background, which I thought was very rushed. That was my biggest kind of annoyance with this episode, was it felt kind of rushed. I felt like we could have pushed this to 2 episodes and got a little bit more about Toga's background. I think that's probably how the rest of this is going to be, as we're going to get background on each of the characters from the League of Villains. I think that's how this is going to end up going, at least in my opinion. So we find out that she has basically been masking herself, because her ability is she sucks blood. So she is ultimately fascinated with blood. There's nothing you can do about it. She's fascinated with blood. She wants to know more about her abilities. And everyone around her is telling her, no, suppress your, emotions. You can't do that. You can't do this. Put on a mask. Hide yourself. And that's what I think her parents ended up telling her. So mentally, she is getting told, you can't do anything. You can't be yourself. You don't have the right to be yourself. You're creepy. You're weird. You're a freak. And eventually, she just snapped in middle school, which led her to stabbing somebody, sucking their blood. It doesn't specify. I think she did kill him as well. So she stabbed him, killed him, and sucked his blood. When she was a little kid, she was still fascinated with blood, so she must have had the quirk from a very young age, because you see her at one point sucking the blood out of a bird, because that's how she gets her abilities, is she sucks somebody's blood, and then she can then transform into them. And we learn in this episode that it also allows her to use their quirk as well, providing they have a quirk, which is pretty neat. So she's fighting all of these people, and we're getting more and more background. And then we just see, she, as I said, she ended up stabbing a fellow classmate. The interview keeps pressing her and pressing her and pressing her and pressing her, asking her, you should join our Liberation Army because you yourself can be normal through us. And then she's like, what is normal? Because she doesn't know what normal is. Her normal is different from everybody else's normal, and her mind is just kind of insane at this point in time because she doesn't know what normal is anymore. She gives a big, creepy smile, as well as the thumbnail, as you can see, and then she just starts killing all of them because now her emotions are kind of going out of whack, and when in doubt, just start killing people, I guess. They're attacking them anyway with the intent to kill them, so she is doing the same, putting that same lethal force. A lot of people are dying. The interviewer also ends up dying later in the episode. Spoiler, not really. I'm assuming you've already watched it if you're watching this review. And it's just interesting. It just felt super rushed. It was a great backstory for her, but I felt like they could have done more with it. Because we don't really fully know the reason why she stabbed the middle school student. I think it was because out of love or something along those lines, because she said that, that this is the way I show my love for people, is by tasting their blood. It's like the same with you kissing somebody. Because she doesn't really know what love is. She doesn't really know what normal is, because she was never able to express herself through her own abilities. If at a young age they were like, okay, yeah, this is fine, explore it to a certain extent, but you have to suppress it to a certain extent, because people are going to find it very awkward that, it's a quirk that not a lot of people would accept. It's not something like super strength or super speed, agility, hardening, whatever else, as you may say. Her quirk is something that society cannot accept, which has led her to the point where she is now. And that's kind of sad, because if she was, had the ability to explore her quirk, her family wasn't as, aggravated towards her, she probably wouldn't have ended up in the situation. So she actually decides that she dresses up like a high schooler. The reason she does that is because people look at her a lot different than when she was in middle school. So she is still putting on a mask most of the time in public, because she doesn't want people to know who she really is. But because she's in the League of Villains, she has the ability to show her true colors, show herself, which we got to see today. Which is why you get to see this, crazy smile, because she's happy, she's excited, and yes, she has fangs and it looks creepy and weird, whatever else you want to call it, but she is happy, she's in her element, she's doing her whole thing, she can show who she truly is, and it's just nice to see her kind of flourish. She does end up getting, beaten up pretty bad throughout the episode, but she wins her fight against this interviewer woman. I believe the interviewer woman dies. I'm not 100% sure. But basically what happens is she has some stockpile of Araka's blood, which she uses, turns into Araka. We learn that she can then use her quirk for a limited time as well. And then she, touches everybody, gets them up in the air, releases them from probably like 100 feet or so. So you're not surviving that. I mean, unless you're like, some of them might have survived it, but you just see kind of a rainfall of blood after she drops everybody. So most likely all of them are dead. Kind of moving on to another small aspect of this episode, but very important as well. Shigaraki. We get a little bit of his background. See him with the previous user of All for One, or One for All rather, and because that is his grandmother. It was All Might's master. We see him with her for a little bit of time. I think we see him with somebody that's either possibly a sister or a mother. We don't really know. And his powers are growing. Spinner even kind of mentions it. So he is very, very out of it at this point in time. He has, lack of sleep. He's actually throwing up at one point in the video. He's very tired. Everything seems weird. But Spinner mentions that it looked like he didn't even touch them and they all disintegrated. He killed like probably 50 people, roughly. We'll say he disintegrated them. Something along those lines. And then they just kind of, they're dead. That's all there is to it. We're waiting for Giga to show up, because Giga eventually is going to show up. They said when they got to the town that it was about an hour and 40 minutes or so for him to wake up and, trace Shigaraki. So he will show up eventually and start wreaking havoc. He'll probably end up kind of coming and saving the day. They're all going to be tired from fighting and killing all these people. Then we get to see a little bit of a preview with Twice. Twice ends up going and finding Toga, and, he's very concerned. Toga is like his best friend in this case. Well, one of his personalities, best friend, because he goes through multiple personalities. He's trying to use the handkerchief that she gave him to wipe off the blood. He definitely loves her. I don't know if it's like it's not like a relationship kind of love. It's kind of like you're my best friend type of love. And he's trying. Then this other guy has the ability to. They mentioned that his ability is puppet, so he can transform things into like people. Like he can take a refrigerator, make it look like a person, and control it to his free will, which is pretty creepy. We get a tiny bit of background on Twice. I think we got it in a previous season. We learned a little bit about Twice, that, he made duplicates of himself, almost ended up killing himself with the duplicates, and they're trying to cause some mental trauma for Twice to do the same, because we know that Twice has both the ability to duplicate people and transform them into other people. and use their quirks as well, to my knowledge anyway, unless that was something that Toga did last season, season 4, with the whole overhaul arc there. And the Liberation Army wants him, because they're like, it doesn't matter if, you know, Redestro dies, because Twice can just keep bringing him back to life. You know, he can just keep making copies of him nonstop, so he can just keep living, you know, for the foreseeable future. And that's actually why they want Twice on their side. We got to see the preview of all of the puppets that the puppet guy controls. He made them all look like Twice to mess with him and his mentality. But I think Twice is going to snap and just start wreaking havoc. And we're going to see how dangerous Twice really is, because we really haven't seen him fight all that much at this point in time. We've seen him use his abilities to, you know, produce duplicates, but we really haven't seen him fight. And we see that, you know, a couple of his puppets are grabbing onto Toga because they want Toga to die to get that interview out for the one interview lady who is probably dead at this point in time, as far as we know. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think Twice is going to snap. Looking at the list, he is classified as an S-rank villain, so he's got to have some sort of crazy Deadpool-esque abilities, because that's who he kind of reminds me of, is a little bit of Deadpool with his outfit. And I think he's just going to wreak havoc. We'll get some background on him next episode, and then Giga will also show up as well. This one's getting an 8 out of 10. The only reason it's getting an 8 out of 10 as opposed to a higher rating from me is because it could have been, you know, elongated. It felt a little rushed. It was a great episode, definitely one of the best for season 5 so far. I really wish they made either season longer, or, as I said, cut out a lot of that filler nonsense that was unnecessary. But I think I'll be at least enjoying the rest of the season at the very least. Let me know your thoughts, comments down below. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button as well. Turn on that notification bell. Thank you for watching. My name is Steve Gray, and as always, have a good one.